Garnacho on the left and Ahmad on the right. No, I think he will drop Ahmad.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. This is the United Stand. We have just witnessed the Community Shield, the first trophy on offer. Read into it what you want. What we want to do here on the Fan Forum is obviously break it down. And with that, obviously I am Kev. The main man, Tull, is back in the hot seat. It's not the usual setup for a fan forum. We've got a few people away and stuff, but we're going to do it a bit relaxed. But Manchester City have took that shield home, so you do whatever you want with it. They've won it on penalties after a 1-1 draw at half-time. We want your interaction as always. So in the comment section, make sure you're active. I know you always are, the United Stand Ultras. But we will pick the bones. We'll look at this. We'll look at certain individual performances. That's all we can do. What we don't want to do is kind of... We'll go into context, Tull, won't we? But we won't look at it... Listen, it's a friendly kind of game. So we'll look at it. We don't want to get over-exaggerate or overreact. But there's positives and there are negatives that we will look at. But first of all, Tull, obviously 1-1, Manchester City scoring a late goal when we maybe could have just weathered that bit of a storm and just seen it out. We've gone to penalties. It's a horrible way to lose a game, but again, where are you at this moment in time? And, you know, are you disappointed, or is it one of them where you go, it's a bit of an exhibition game and, you know, we move on?
Would have been really nice to win it, obviously, and I was buzzing when Garnacho scored, but realistically, I mean, I know it's like a joke you say, where, like, you know, if you win it, you're like, yes. You know,
what did I say to you before this match? I said,
you win it.
If you win it,
Shield, get in.
Yeah, you go.
If you lose
Community Shield, man, nice one. First
what if you lose
in the cabinet.
Just a dinner plate.
It's just a Community Shield.
Just a dinner plate, mate.
Yeah.
Just have me dinner on it.
It's like something my granny would have on the wall in the house, some fancy shield or whatever. But no, but I mean, are you disappointed?
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed because we've been beat by City. So I mean, naturally you're going to be disappointed, and also the fact that, you know, we had 10 minutes to go to win it and we couldn't hold on to it. But realistically, I don't feel like it's the end of the world. I know there's going to be some people 10 Hag out. We've not got style of football, blah blah blah. Like, come on, man. We've not even started.
You do realise that has kicked off. That's actually a thing. You know, people will be sat in the bedrooms this evening. Erik ten Hag out, you know, and you talk about the most reactionary fans when it comes to stuff like this. It's like, are you being serious? You know, all right, we've just lost a penalty shootout to Manchester City. And I suppose the things you can look at, for me, I look at a very understrength Manchester City team. So I think it's very hard to judge United off what we've seen today. If it was full strength City and we'd have gone toe to toe, and we had huge chances in this game, you know, to put it to bed. Before Garnacho, you think, obviously Bruno Fernandes was offside, but wow, what a finish, you know, that was, and what it could have been. There was other big chances in this game, but I mean, you can't really be that disappointed. You know, we know earlier on the news had broken about De Ligt and Mazraoui, you know, will be joining Manchester United, coming through the door. And it just becomes very evident that when you look at this kind of team and this squad, that they are just going to add squad depth. And that's what we need at the moment, isn't it?
Look, I've not looked at it. I don't even have a clue. I don't want to be a stats nerd, but I can think of about 5 huge chances in that game. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, expected goals, this and that, but surely we had if we were going to look at it, surely we had a much higher, you know, expected goals in City. I can remember Rashford missing an absolute shocker of a chance.
We will get on to it.
I can remember McTominay missing one. Ahmad, when he passed it across goal, could he have had a go himself? But I mean, if he had a striker there, would they have tapped it in? Do you know what I mean? There was loads of chances in that game where we could have won it. And I did say after we missed the 4th or 5th one, I feel like we're going to be sat here saying we should have won that. We lost it, but you know what? I think we should have won it, honestly. I think we had the better chances. Look, I'm not saying we played absolutely brilliantly, and I know some people are saying, Man City was a weak Man City team, they played the youth players. People like Oscar Bob and Lewis aren't crap players, mate. Like, they are top. They are top players,
It's good that you say that,
mate.
because it makes me laugh when they go, oh, the City reserves. if you look at some of them players, they would walk into our squad.
Mate, Rico Lewis and Oscar Bob in particular.
Team, are good enough to represent, even in the top half of the Premier League. Yeah. They would walk into, other teams, which shows their kind of strength and depth, in that squad. That's why I always argue and say, like, players that we've still got kicking about. And I'm not getting on at McTominay, but I'll make the point of, would he get in another top 5, top 6 team in the Premier League? Well, he is available, but would anybody else want him? And why is that? You're talking about West Ham being after him. Fair enough. Would City want him? Would Arsenal want him? Would Liverpool want him? Tottenham? You look at the teams that finished in the kind of top 5, 6 places. They wouldn't. And it does. The squad depth it's just clear to see, isn't it? And that's why at least the news today gives us a bit of hope, because we're less than a week away to this game against Fulham in the Premier League.
Yep, 6 days.
Yeah,
on Friday,
and again, you don't want to be reactionary. We can only work off what we've seen. But that's why I'm trying to say that the game that we've witnessed today is quite hard to judge, because from a competitive nature, this was a Man City team that next weekend, when they play Chelsea or whatever it is, it's going to be unrecognisable. Yes, Haaland was in that team. I think we did a good job, kept him quiet. But, I mean, I'll get through a few super chats. There's people, obviously, the community want to have their say, which is really, really good. Quinn Star says Rashford, Sancho and Anthony to be sold. So here we go. Get ready for it. This is on the back of a Community Shield defeat. People will come out. They will want to have their kind of voices heard. Thank you very much for the contribution. Martin Saunders says King Kev and Tull, that has proved Harry Scott and Jadon need to go. They can't play the football we want to play. Listen, I do want to go through individual players and that, and I'm not scapegoating a Jadon Sancho, but we'll touch on Martin Saunders' comment there about Jadon Sancho. Now, when we seen him going up for the penalty,
yeah, he didn't look.
We can tell the viewers.
He didn't look very confident. I hate saying it sometimes. It feels like a cop-out thing to say when someone misses a penalty.
Is it a confidence thing or is it an arrogance?
I think it's a confidence thing. I don't think it's an arrogance. I think it's a case of, we even said about 70 minutes in, you can just see it going to penalties. Sancho missing a penalty and getting a load of grief for it. And I bet Sancho thought the same thing. Yeah. I bet you any money Sancho thought the same thing, and the pressure probably weighed on him. I'm not going to listen to nonsense about he missed a penalty on purpose. There's a personal pride thing.
That's just Jadon Sancho's kind of makeup, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think Martial was labelled with that as well. I think you can come across as being this kind of arrogant, lazy, whatever, and I think Sancho will get that same
but
thing.
When it comes off, you look like the coolest man on the pitch. So do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I wouldn't look into it too much. Mario
Franco said we were the better team. Lots of nice link-up plays.
I agree. I thought we deserved to win.
Yeah.
I thought, if talking about link-up, a player that surprised me today, who was linking play up very nicely, moving the ball very quickly, was Casemiro. Completely shocked me.
We will get onto that when we go through, because even in the build-up show, I mean, if the viewers out there, you watch the build-up show, I ran through my listing of 8 players that I believe that could be like new signings for Manchester United this season. There seems to be a lot of doom and gloom and people saying, why aren't we signing players? We've let 8 players go. And Casemiro was on that list. So we'll go through individual performances. But Danny H says, can't do another season of Onana, Rashi and McTominay. I mean, I love the way this is so sort of widespread. It's not just one. How are we throwing Onana into this conversation?
I was going to say, I'm baffled by the Onana. I understand the Rashford thing. Rashford disappointed me today. The Onana one, I really don't.
He's made a save from the shootout.
I don't get that one, to be honest, mate.
You can't even put any fault on him for the Bernardo Silva goal.
Nope, I don't.
He's not getting that. I mean, Palestri's switched off for a second. Whatever.
Understand that you've got a winger who is probably out of all of our wingers, the very bottom, and I'm not even just talking right wingers, every winger at the club, he's probably the bottom of the pecking order, and he's been shoved at right back. So, when we were 1-0 up, we were saying, Palestri's done a good job. Do you know what I mean? He's done a job. He's filled in. He's done his bit. It's just,
as Roy Keane would say, he's just doing his job.
Done his job. Yeah,
it's
not the end of the world.
And you think in sharp kind of contrast, to last season in an FA Cup game when Anthony was asked to play left back.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to listen to people
say. The cameras
say...
never picked up Anthony, but I remember at that time there was a few clips went viral. He was not happy about that. Now, for me, certain players, if you want to play for Manchester United, you want to play for the badge, you'll play anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, even if you were asked to play, you think of a way, the makeup of some of these players, these so-called modern-day players. Wayne Rooney would have played in net for United.
Exactly.
Wayne Rooney would have carried the water bottles on the side of the pitch. He would have done absolutely anything for United. So, Palestri coming, you know, and playing right back. Some people might try throwing the thing out that this is on Erik ten Hag, asking him to do that job. But look at the bench today. You know, look at the options available to him defensively. That's the reason that United today have gone ahead, you know, and agreed this deal with De Ligt. Because we don't have that at the back. We looked at the bench before the game, didn't we? And we said, wow, you know,
well,
attacking-wise,
my first question,
not an issue.
Yeah, my first question to you was, is there a left-back on the bench, Kev? And you went, no. And I went, OK. And I thought, well, Dallo can play left-back. Went, is there a right-back on the bench, Kev? And you went, no. I was like, is there a defender on the bench, Kev? No. So it's like, you know, the whole thing, it's hard to listen to, you know, the thing about City were playing such a weak lineup because, let's be honest, it's not like
and that's why it's hard to gauge this.
We had Martinez at left back. You know, we played our worst centre back part. Out of all the centre backs we've got, it's probably the weakest partnership we can put out on the pitch. So it's not like we were playing our best side. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's plenty of room where we'll improve just by getting people like Luke Shaw back, people like that.
Yeah. Jims91 says Erik ten Hag, Rashi's favouritism could ruin this whole season. That is one we will get into in a minute because individually I think we should kind of touch on the players. We'll look through them, give our thoughts on it. So keep the comments coming in. Absolutely on fire today. Daniel says people need to grow up. Good game to see the youth look. And one of them emojis, which means like great. Shift the dead wood, which would help. You can see the players that can't cut the new system. I think that is a good comment. Again, you know, we're less than a week away from playing Fulham in a game that, you know, forget this Community Shield thing. The Fulham one for me, especially the last couple of seasons, we'd not hit the ground running in the league. You think back to last season, did we lose the first two? Was it Brighton and Brentford?
Yeah, I can remember
back to back.
Yeah.
It was a disastrous start. Now, I would quite happy give up your Nan's shield that she hangs up on the wall and says, look at this thing, or brings out drinks on, to get the 3 points against Fulham. That is the main thing for Ten Hag, for this squad. And I think it will be, the team will look a lot different, won't it, against Fulham? It's not...
and it's just, that's the important game. Put it this way, like I said, I'm gutted we couldn't beat City when, you know, we should have beat them because we were 1-0 up. But if we were sat here after just getting beat by Fulham in the league in the opening game of the season at Old Trafford, I'd be a lot more miserable, mate. I'd be Morrissey. I'd be absolutely just
I was happy in the haze of a drunken hour.
But it's not all doom and gloom, people. Season's not actually.
It's not. Come on, man. We need to see some kind of positivity.
If we beat City, I would have been going, get in you. We beat City. Come on.
But I'd have been here with the bucket hat on, sunglasses, saying, I'm Liam Gallagher, and giving it the big one. But bollocks to Liam Gallagher anyway. Kyle Robinson wanted to give a shout out to Kate because she's driving to Wales, from Wales to London. That's it. Listen, if you want to put it in the chat, absolutely nothing to do with the match that we've just witnessed, but we're here for this kind of stuff. I like it. Jimmy Johansson didn't even leave any message, but put a super chat in, and we appreciate that. Rick says, Sancho is a decent footballer, just for Dortmund. And do you know what? I don't even think he was that decent for Dortmund. I think that was an absolute overreaction. I think they love to put it... Anything that the media can throw at Ten Hag, and you know for a fact, worst case scenario, if Manchester United lose the opening game against Fulham, I'm very sceptical, me, and I always think, why United the first team to play? You know, is it not usually the team that won the league? You know, that is like the showcase kind of game that weekend. They pushed us to the prime time Friday night slot, and I think it's purely for the press, so that they can get the vultures circling Old Trafford. And if things do go kind of wrong, they've got time now to push that out all weekend about Erik ten Hag. Should they have given him an extra year, you know, onto this other year? But I mean, that's just me. I don't know whether I'm reading into it too much, but
you will see it if we let's be honest, if we lose, well, let's not if we come out of the first 5-6 games of the season and we lose 4 or 5 of them. Probably going to see.
And we know that Gareth Southgate sat there without a job, and we know that Dan Ashworth absolutely adores him. So be careful what you wish for, because if you want that coming through the door, then fair play to you. But Ben Thornton says, I'd rather come out of this game without injuries.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a fair comment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, let's go through the actual starting 11 that played today, and we'll go through, give our thoughts, we'll bounce opinions off each other. Andre Onana, obviously the super chat that was in there before saying that person was fed up of Onana, Rashford and whoever, get rid. Did you see anything today that suggests that Onana is, not going to be, or would you be looking at replacing Andre Onana?
No.
Let's throw it out there.
Not at all, mate. Onana was just his usual self. We're trying to tailor this system, this Ten Hag system. This goalkeeper's...
He's pivotal to that.
We've had him for a year. Do you know what I mean? We've had him for 1 season. Dave had a dodgy first 2 seasons. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to give him time, and I don't even think he was that bad today anyway. I don't actually think he had that much to do, realistically, apart from playing the ball out, which I don't think he did too much wrong. He didn't really have that much to do. Yeah, so I know what people are getting onto him. People are going to get onto him for the penalty shootout antics, but personally, I quite like it.
I love that shit.
That's what I want to see. Yeah,
I'm there for it.
I'm happy that he does it, because we never got that from Dave. That's like a bit of a personality that we never had that with Dave. And sometimes it comes off, and sometimes it can be the difference.
When you think of Europa League final and that, De Gea never got close to any of them kind of penalties, and that's fair enough. They're 2 different types of animals, but. The one thing I'm there for, it's like Martin, as I said to you earlier, at Aston Villa. That shithousery is... you can't... Well, I was going to say you can't buy it. We have bought it in Onana because even the mind games, anybody that knows a penalty shootout and how it works, that walk from the centre circle to when you're going, it could be in front of the away fans, your fans. It doesn't really matter, but it's a long walk. Yeah. You've got a long time then. And then you faced, obviously, with Onana, who's going to start dancing.
He's going to say something to you.
Even to Haaland, he's pointing and saying, there you go, there you go. Are you going to put it there? He didn't. But, in a shootout, when you've got 5 penalties, sometimes it could just be 1. For me, Onana's done his job today.
Yeah,
we can't scapegoat Johnny Evans.
No, not at all. I actually thought Evans had a good game.
Yeah.
Obviously, the penalty was a shocker, but I actually thought he had a good game.
This comes down to that thing again, where you say, especially in the penalty shootout, some people might have looked and thought, what's Jadon Sancho taking a penalty for?
Yeah.
What's Johnny Evans doing up there? But they must have either put their hand up or, that shows a certain kind of character.
Yeah. For
so long at Manchester United, so many of these players have gone into hiding, and for a fact they'll be thinking, I don't want to lose, 500,000 whatever followers on X or Instagram or whatever for missing a penalty. And they've just sort of slid into the background. And this is the point of where the proper players step up and go, well, in Johnny Evans' case, I can't imagine it. I know it was getting down to the latter stages of who you
we're about 2 penalties away from Onana taking 1.
He's big enough to go up and step. And don't get me wrong, it was a... that was an
awful penalty. That was like he'd never kicked a football before.
Yeah.
It was shocking.
Yeah,
it was actually, I just laughed at it. It was that bad.
It just needed to be a bit
just
lower.
Made me laugh.
And then,
maybe we'd be going, Panenka.
Johnny Evans would have been the Panenka king.
Johnny Evans,
Northern
Panenka.
Ireland Panenka king.
Come on, Johnny.
It's fine lines, but again, I think there's things to be positive about. I don't think we can get too down about it. And if we want to really get into it, I said to you walking over here before, I said, we won the proper one back in May.
Yeah.
So if there's any City fans,
that's the spirit,
that are kind of celebrating this Granny Shield or whatever we'll call it this evening, then fair play. Go knock yourself out, literally, if you want to. But, you know, the big one for me was the FA Cup final. That's where it was done. But we did want to kind of throw a marker down today, didn't we? And
yeah, it's just a nice way to start the season, isn't it?
That's all it would have been for me. I would have thought, well, at least it's a great start, bit of positivity. You've got players experience Wembley, and that's what the Community Shield is.
Win or lose, you would have been going on to Fulham.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's your mindset would have been the same either way. It would have gone, right, nice. Yeah. If we won it, you'd been going, good stuff.
That's what
on to Fulham. We've got to beat Fulham. Yeah. Win or lose, it all depends on that Fulham game. You've got to start the season off with a win and put 3 points on the board, because in recent seasons, like you said before, we've not actually been doing that. I mean, I know we did last season against Wolves, but we made hard work of it at Old Trafford in the opening game. And then the season before, we had that awful start to the season where we got beat by Brighton, we got beat by Brentford away. We really don't want to be going into a season like that again, because this time, if we start a season like that again, Ten Hag's going to go. And I actually think there might have been a little. I don't think it was the main no, it wasn't the main reason for Van Nistelrooy coming in, but I think there's a little safety blanket of Van Nistelrooy coming in where it's like, if things do go tits up, you move Ten Hag on, and Van Nistelrooy's kind of the caretaker for a little while whilst he look after it.
I wonder what penny for the thoughts of Ruud Van Nistelrooy on the sideline. The two massive chances that Marcus Rashford had today.
He will be the angriest man on the planet.
Van Nistelrooy's bread and butter.
Van Nistelrooy will be the angriest man on the planet.
I'd say he was horrified by that. Because I mean, that is. We'll get into it.
He'll be looking at that thinking we've got some serious work to do here.
Yeah. Kevin Mowery says, I love this. Get ready for this for positivity. Here's somebody who's clearly had a drink today. I like this. United winning the league. You heard it here first.
Come on, you.
Yeah?
Come on.
Wow. Listen, I'm digging that. Danny H says, Anana cost us Champions League last season. I don't trust him. We did discuss this in the build-up show to the Community Shield. And that is a comment that I did say, because I said Anana was my one to watch, or one of the players that I chose along with Rashford. And I did mention that, I didn't say he was, well, if we're going to be harsh, he probably was solely responsible for United exiting the Champions League. So I certainly can't argue against that. Baggy is in the chat as well saying, had the game won twice, bottled it twice.
Did we? Oh, yeah, because, well, we could have, we
got ourselves in a position that Anana saved the penalty. But yeah, I mean, again, it's whether you're glass half empty, glass half full kind of thing. It's however you want to interpret that and look at it. But Andre Anana, obviously Dalot is now the mainstay kind of right back at Manchester United. We heard the news earlier that Aaron Wan-Bissaka has left, or will be leaving Manchester United for West Ham. Did you see anything today to suggest that United have made a huge mistake, as Samuel Luckhurst has come out and said that Aaron Wan-Bissaka was sorely missed today at Manchester United? Yeah,
not really, but I thought Jeremy Doku was underwhelming today. So I think if Doku had one of his best games, I thought Doku was brilliant in the FA Cup final. I thought he absolutely terrorised us when he came on. But yeah, there wasn't really anything down that side, which was like, you know, Pellistri managed to handle a lot of it for a good while of the game.
And he's not a defender, is he, Pellistri?
Yeah. So,
again, I don't think you can.
I don't think we missed Wan-Bissaka,
anyone. I thought Dalot did well. You know that defensively he's probably not as good as what Wan-Bissaka was or is. But getting forward, you know... And
I think it outweighs.
Them transitions of play where you see Dalot getting into the midfield and making it almost a five-man midfield at some stages. And you can see what Erik ten Hag is probably trying to do. Next one on the list, Harry Maguire. Divides opinion. You know, is he good enough for Manchester United? United fans, I don't know. I can't even say they'd be split. But on a performance... As we're doing on the fan forum, obviously, you know, what would you kind of summed him up as today? Yeah,
it wasn't great, to be honest with you. I thought Evans was actually, when I looked at Evans, I actually thought Evans was okay. Like, there was a couple of moments where I thought Evans did really well there. Maguire just, you know, just kind of, what would you call it? Just like not an average performance, I'd say less than average, just like You know, like he was just a bystander kind of thing.
Did he do his job, as Roy Keane would say? Or did
he could have done a bit more for me, but realistically, let's look at the big picture going into the season. Harry Maguire's going to be probably our 4th choice centre-back.
Would you know it's good that you said that, because I was going to say, if, obviously we did the countdown to kick-off, if we hadn't had the here we go on De Ligt,
then we'd be having a nightmare right now,
Would you be pressing the panic button now?
We'd be having a nightmare right now. I'd be sat here going, sign De Ligt now, sign him now, but we got it done, so.
Yeah, happy days. Johnny Evans, again, I'm sure some people will try scapegoating him and saying it's the worst penalty they've ever seen and stuff, but on reflection of a 90 minutes, I just think you can't really fault this guy.
He was solid.
I thought he was solid.
Yeah.
He's, what is he, 36, 37 years
about
of
36,
age?
yeah.
I mean, he rolls back the years. If you need to count on him, if there's a game, he will come. He will play through the pain barrier. He is like Mr. Manchester United. He gets it. He will play. He won't shy away from the fact. And I thought Johnny Evans, you know, I'll say solid performance.
Yeah,
Again,
I agree.
Let's not forget who he's up against. And I know it was.
Exactly.
You can look at this either way. You know, Erling Haaland. You look at the numbers he's put in the last couple of seasons at Manchester City, you know, he's up there. And physically, for Johnny Evans and Maguire to an extent today, that was their job today.
Yeah.
Was to keep him, you know, shut out.
And they did.
And they did that.
He had a very quiet game, Haaland.
Yeah.
I did not see much of Haaland at all today.
Apart from Pellistri switching off at the back post, you've got a header from Bernardo Silva that Anana could do nothing about. I mean, if you're nitpicking, you can look and you think, why? How did we lose this game? We lost it on penalties, for God's sake. I don't think there should be an overreaction. But one player I did want to ask you about was the old RG Butcher, Argentina.
Yeah.
This was an interesting one, because when the news broke that Lisandro Martinez was going to start at left-back, which is a position he had played or has played for Ajax in the past, to see him at Manchester United, it's a position it's been... Luke Shaw, I mean, come on. And then you've got Malacia as well, who we don't know what's going on with. Martinez, again, has filled in there. Probably he's Ten Hag's guy, and thought, go out there, you can fill a bit of a void. Let's see how it goes on. But from my personal view, I thought he looked a little hesitant, a bit, not comfortable, shall we say, a bit shaky the first half. The ball that he tries to give back to, was it the goalkeeper? And
yeah, I thought
you could tell he wasn't comfortable
left back. But when he dropped back into centre back, I thought he looked like the Martinez we all know. You know, there was that tackle in the box where he flew in, and it was like, that's the Martinez we know. But when he was at left back, he can't be one of our left back options going into the season. I thought he was shockingly bad at left back, to be honest with you. He had a little, it was like a 15-20 seconds of absolute madness where he gave the ball away. And then someone ended up saving his life and recovering it for him. And then he got the ball again straight away and then gave it away. And I thought, he does not know where he is on that pitch.
It's just not comfortable. And that's a good point about the challenge that he makes, because that wasn't in the left-back position. That was like the centre-half. So that's where he's more at home. That's his bread and butter. And you've got Martinez flying into a challenge, brilliant challenge, and you think that's where he's more at home. I mean, a nice experiment. Again, it's one I'd rather get out the way in the Community Shield rather than Fulham at home, you know, next week. We don't know what's happening with Luke Shaw.
Because put it this way, if we get to the Fulham match day on Friday now, lineup comes out, and Martinez is at left back, I'm going to be going... Oof.
Yeah, I'm worried.
I'm not sure.
But the main one, and everybody as well getting to the chat. I mean, if we're talking about one player that I was highly surprised, in a nice way, really surprised by today, he's Casemiro.
I thought he was brilliant.
He's our Brazilian hero. The song is coming back out because I'll give him his flowers, his due.
For me, Kev, man of the match. For me, I really did think he was that good.
Do you know what? I was going to save that until sort of towards the end of the show, but Tull, I like that, and I cannot disagree with it.
Well,
I know.
At the end of last season, I said he was dead and buried, and he needs to go Saudi, and he's crap, and he's finished. But
you need to send him a bouquet of flowers and a card saying, sorry, Casemiro.
If he's going to... he just looked sharp. That last season, he looked sluggish, and today he looked sharp. He looked smart on the ball. Every time he got the ball, he'd give it straight away. That was the problem with him last season. He'd get the ball and he'd dawdle, and then he'd get someone to come behind him and nick it off him, and then he'd end up sticking a foot in and getting a yellow card. Yeah. That was the story of Casemiro last season. Today was complete polar opposite. He moved the ball nice and quick, which is, if we can have that all season with Casemiro, happy days.
Yeah, it's almost like that first season. You know, last season, no doubt, he struggled big time, like you say. He looked sluggish. He was getting caught on the ball.
He looked leaner.
Even that's the word I was going to look for. He did, and when I looked at him, I thought, you know, to me, it was like a bit like looking in the mirror. You know, he's
absolutely, mate.
He's leaned up. He's looking hench, but in a good way. He looked. Yeah. Because sometimes you did look at Casemiro and think, is he carrying a few extra pounds? You know, but it was never an issue in the first season. But I just think, as a performance today, again, it's hard to judge against Manchester City, but this midfield area, we spoke about it earlier, about the Amrabat leaving, you know, is he going to come back? But he was a big part of United winning the FA Cup in that final. And that is the area that I worry about at the moment. But again, I don't want to base it off one performance, but it just gives me a bit more ease. You know, I look at it and think, oh, well, Mainu and Casemiro in as that too, it could work.
Yeah, it was nice to see.
It could be enough to carry us through.
Mainu didn't look sharp today. Mainu had an off game, I thought, which I'm not worried. It's Kobbie Mainoo. He'll be fine. He'll still have a great season. But for his standards, I thought Mainoo had a bit of a poor game. But it was nice because then at least Casemiro performed and kind of made up for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's difficult to judge on Mainoo because he's a young lad and the standards that he's set have been so high. Yeah. You're always going to judge him off that. So when he's not at it, you're going to look and go, oh, well, that's not the Kobbie Mainoo that we're used to or whatever. But, you know, make no bones about it, you know, next Friday evening against Fulham, you know, you would expect him to come out. You know, I'm sure there'll be changes to the starting 11, but Mainoo, you expect him to come out firing.
Oh,
and he's been away with England.
He will.
At
he
the
will
Euros.
as well.
Yeah.
I know he will.
Yeah, I hope so anyway. Another one that, was it a surprise that he started for Manchester United today? We didn't see much of him last season due to injury, was Mason Mount. What word would you throw out to sum up Mason Mount's kind of... this is like, the second coming. This is almost like now his debut. This is where his career at Manchester United starts, because as long as he can stay injury-free, we know the performance levels that he put in at Chelsea. And again, another one that divides opinion. I know there's fans of I see the comments all the time about people, you know, we've been done by Chelsea, this, that. They've had us over, had our pants down, whatever. But I still like to think that there's certainly a player in there and he offers us something different in that position.
I'm really hoping Mason can hit the heights here at Chelsea during that first couple of years he had in the starting team at Chelsea. I don't want this to sound as critical as it's probably going to sound when I say it, because, you know, he's not played an awful lot of football. I know he had the first couple of months of last season. He did a bit in pre-season. He's played today. But I've not seen anything yet from Mason Mount which Jesse Lingard didn't do. Ooh. And that sounds probably more critical than I'm trying to be. But what I'm really trying to say is he needs to step it up. He does need to step it up, because at the end of the day, he's a £60 million player. He's a Champions League winner. And realistically, that's the type of player we should be counting on.
It comes with game time as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I'm hoping this season he can crack on, because he only had the first month. I think he got to September-ish, and then he got injured last season. It was something like that. He didn't get much time before he got the injury. So. And
these are the games that you want to experiment with. As we've seen at the Tour of America, these are the games that you experiment with. And when you think of, like, I know it's not the England stand, it's the United stand, but the point I want to make is, like, you look at the kind of experiment that Southgate tried during the Euros of playing Trent Alexander-Arnold. You know, and you think, what are you experimenting for in a tournament now, which, you know, every game is must win and you go out there. So it is, I'd rather Erik ten Hag was experimenting now, pre-season. Yeah. And then hopefully, I think next Friday evening when the team news drops, you'll get a very, very clear indication of, the players that he wants to play. But on a quick question here on identity, style of play, and it might seem like a hard-hitting question, but did you see anything different today than what you've actually seen last season?
Nothing that alarms me. What I would say is don't base your judgment of United's style of play on the Erik ten Hag on a game against a team that's won the Premier League 4 years in a row, which has never been done in history, ever. You're obviously going to set up against a team that good differently. Do you know what I mean? Let's get into the season and let's get a couple months out of the way with and then judge it off that. I wouldn't be looking at today going, we're playing negative football or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
It's a hard one to judge,
because it's not like we're the only team who sets up that way against City.
Yeah.
Everybody does it because of how good they are. So, yeah, nothing. I didn't see anything today that alarmed me, to be completely honest with you. Maybe Rashford. Rashford did alarm me slightly, but maybe he can warm into the season. Do you know what I mean?
Sambit Satapathy. Not said anything wrong there, have I? If you missed the countdown to kick-off, Kev got caught out with an absolute belter that I'm never going to live down. But thank you for the super chat. Said ship Sancho back to Dortmund, and then followed it up with another super chat of really, really positive mindset. Said Marcus Rashford, the most overrated player in MUFC. But, well, we're going to get into this, aren't we? Because we've just covered Mason Mount. Bruno Fernandes, just a usual kind of performance, wasn't it?
One of those I said to you when he scored the goal that was offside.
Oh, what a goal as well.
Amazing goal. Amazing goal.
It was offside, don't get me wrong, but the finish still.
Yeah, but it was one of those where I said to you, it's the thing with Bruno, sometimes he'll be missing all game. And then, but I said it to you on the countdown to kick-off. I said, Bruno can have a game sometimes where you go in, what are you doing? But then he'll just win you the game. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean?
He's capable of them moments of magic.
He can be having a below-average game and then just pop up with something like that because his technique is so good. So, yeah, that's just typical Bruno, that. Great strike of the ball, that.
Ahmad had his big opportunity today, another player that we talked about previous to this, and a player that on fan forums last season we were certainly saying, why is he not getting more game time?
He had a great first half.
He did, didn't
he? He did fizzle out slightly in the second half till he came off, but the first half he was brilliant, he was direct. He was the complete opposite of what Rashford was. Every time Ahmad got the ball, you knew something was going to happen. The way he was going straight into the box. Yeah, straight into the box. There was one instance where he went into the box, cut in, and made his own chance. And then there was another instance about 5 minutes later where he could have done the same thing. Then he caught the City defence off guard and played a 1-2 with Casemiro.
That was a brilliant pass.
It was great. It's great wing play. That's what you need your wingers to be doing. And when you look at the other side, when it was Rashford, he looks still just very sloppy on the ball. That's the best way I could describe Rashford at the moment. Just sloppy.
The refreshing thing from Ahmad, which we've not seen much of, but we are told that Erik ten Hag is, he's spoken glowingly about in pre-season, saying this is his breakthrough season. This is his kind of season now to make it, which is great. But there was the positives I looked at Ahmad. You talk about the chance where he cut in on his left foot, which was very similar to the goal that he scored against Rangers in pre-season. The finish wasn't there today, fair enough, but
the way he made the chance was
still
the
made the
same,
space.
Wasn't it?
Managed to cut it onto his left. He's worked his way into the box. And then the other chance, as you just mentioned, the Casemiro kind of 1-2. Yeah. And I am not used to a winger at Manchester United in that position getting the head up and actually looking across, because he tries, it would have been a tap-in for Mason Mount. Now, again, fine margins, didn't get it right. And it's funny because you bang your head against the wall.
For me, it's more of a case of Mount was switched off for me.
He's not on his toes. Now, if Højlund's in that position, Højlund, my brother.
Yeah, you'd hope he'd be
He's there, innit, to tap it in, and that's his position. It's not Mason Mount's. But the thing that was refreshing was that Ahmad actually got his head up. How many times? But at the same time, and it sounds crazy, I'm looking and thinking, shoot!
Yeah.
You know, there's no Højlund there. Yes, Mason Mount's hung back slightly. He's behind play. He's going to be stretching or trying to slide in. And you're thinking, just put your foot through it. But I like that from Ahmad, because you know that if he gets a run of games in this team, that he's certainly going to be out on that wing and he's going to get his head up and look, because Rashford very rarely does it. Garnacho, to an extent, that's something he's got to learn.
Yeah,
and,
Garnacho's more direct.
You know, Anthony
isn't he?
even, we know what Anthony's going to do. You know, he's going to head down that wing. He might spin around on the ball and the old fidget spinner, do whatever, you know, one for YouTube. And then he's going to cut back like he always does. And he's going to try and get onto his left foot. And defenders know that. Whereas Ahmad's a bit more unpredictable.
Yeah.
I think you need that in a winger.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, two completely different types of chance creation in about the space of 5 minutes. Yeah, it was good to see. Good to see a nice little link up with Casemiro. Casemiro on the edge of the box. Because even you could say Ahmad could have had the shot, but even Casemiro could have had the shot. To be honest with you, Casemiro could have just had a go and put his foot through it and probably swung it across to the far post. But yeah, it was nice to see Casemiro on his toes as well. Get it on, that understanding. It's good if players can form that understanding with Ahmad, that little give and go understanding. For Ahmad to have stayed on side in such a little, in such a little space, he's managed to give it, stay on side and receive it in behind the defence. I don't actually blame him for knocking the ball to the, it's just one-touch football. It was give, and he just gave again. Do you know what I mean? So you'd hope someone would be there just to finish it off. I like them
patterns of play because I think it does show that something is working on the training ground. We didn't see much of that last season. I think that you rightly say, that Casemiro could have had a shot. But it does seem that in and around them areas that something has just slightly changed where they're not trying to walk the ball into the net. I suppose if Mount had have tapped that one in, I mean, you talk about total football, goal. You would have looked at that and gone, wow, literally every player on the pitch could have.
You'd have been looking at Ahmad like he's Messi.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, but even there was another chance, the big Rashford chance where, he's come into that kind of Thierry Henry position where he's going to open his body and try to bend it, but he got it completely wrong. Again, that was Casemiro on the edge of the box where, Casemiro's received it and straight away, he's not even had to look at Rashford, he's just straight away, just give it straight onto Rashford, straight on a plate for Rashford. So,
Gio with the super chat says Rashford's mentality reminds me of Leon Edwards, and Sambit is back in. Third super chat of the evening, thank you very much. Says positives, in my opinion, performances of Garnacho, Casemiro, Bruno and Martinez was really good today. Hoping to have them all for all the matches next season. I think every United fan is absolutely praying for that. I mean, let's finish this. And I understand it is a different kind of fan forum to usual. We would have maybe 4 of us on, so you've got a lot of opinions. It can get heated. This has been different, and I like it because it's just like me and Told having a beer. Like we're just talking it through, like we do. But we'll finish on Marcus Rashford as a performance. Do you look at the 2 massive chances that he had, and these were put on a plate for him. The first one, you have to at least be making that goalkeeper work and hitting the target. You cannot be putting that wide from that angle.
And how wide it was as well.
Oh,
it was so poor.
Totally wrong.
So poor that. It's one of those where you just watch it and you feel yourself just losing patience. Do you know what I mean?
You can imagine Ruud van Nistelrooy on the sideline.
Oh my God,
he would have been trying to kick
he probably threw up, mate.
Kick that in for him.
Yeah, he probably ran to the bogs and threw up, mate, after seeing that. Jesus.
Yeah, but obviously the other chance then, Garnacho, absolutely fantastic pass. Puts it again on a plate. Rashford, are you gonna eat this?
Oh,
here's
man,
a piece of steak,
I forgot about that one. Mate, we should have won that game about 4-0.
And he hits the outside of the post. I mean,
we should have battered them today.
The connection wasn't great. And this is why the super chat earlier did say, on reflection, when you look at especially clear-cut chances, because I think we restricted City to a lot of long kind of shots. Haaland wasn't in the game. Johnny Evans was not on my watch.
Yeah. Tell you what, Ruud van Nistelrooy he'll watch that performance over about 5 times this week. He'll watch it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and he might even watch it before the Fulham game. He'll probably watch it every day and just go, we can work with this. You know what I mean? He'll probably look at it and go, yeah, that's shockingly bad, but we can work with this.
Yeah, whatever mode of transport United are travelling back this evening, whether it be a train, a bus, a plane, whatever it is, if I'm Van Nistelrooy, I'm probably having a sit down with Rashford. And not in a bad way, but, I would be saying, that was 2 huge chances.
Come on, mate.
Even, you have heard about Van Nistelrooy saying that, one of his biggest kind of things is talking to players. These relationships that you build. So you would say, why you're not confident in front of goal?
Yeah.
Is it something from last season?
Really try and pick his brains.
We don't want you to bring this into this season. We want you to hit the ground running, and that would be great for United, wouldn't it? In any sense, is that you want these players just at it, and especially a Rashford. But Isaac says, "How was Ahmad today? Missed the game." We can rewind if you want, mate, but we have discussed Ahmad.
Sum it up, very good first half, to be fair. Good first half, good chance creation, very direct. It was probably, I know, well, Garnacho was good in the second half, to be fair, but in the first half, he was our best winger. Yeah, probably our best outlet, I'd say, in the first half.
Yeah. I won't go up through all the substitutes. Again, it can be a bit long-winded.
There's a couple I want to talk about.
If there's anyone, that's what I was going to say. So, listen, mate, the floor is yours. But if there was any in particular that stood out, I know McTominay had a huge chance.
Yeah.
We can probably not write off Jadon Sancho. I don't mean his career, but as a performance, he's come on late in the game. Yes, Ederson saved the penalty, but from the others, anyone that impressed?
Collier.
Yeah.
I thought he looked sharp. I don't think he did anything like spectacular. I just thought he came on the pitch and moved the ball very quickly. He looked like he came on the pitch with a bit of purpose, do you know what I mean? A bit of authority. Came on the pitch, asked for the ball, moved the ball, and I was happy to see that from a young player. Who else was there who came on? There was Collier. There was that big 4 substitutions. Once you had Collier come on. I think Sancho came on later, didn't he? McTominay came on, which he had that massive chance off Rashford heading it back in, which, let's be honest, he should get something on it at least. I think if he gets anything on it, it's a goal. Do you know what I mean? Even if it just hits his knee or something, it probably ends up going in. There was another one where McTominay got the ball from Bruno over into the box and he just didn't know how to deal with it, which, he should have done better with. He just couldn't angle his body the right way. Who else came on, Kev? Who did we have? We had our 4 substitutions. Maybe the chat can help me out.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm still thinking about that super chat from earlier. It still got me, you see. That's why my head is all over the place at this moment in time. But Ian J. White has said, not disappointed. Performance was good. Should have won in normal time. What we did miss was having a striker to finish those moves.
I agree, mate. I think that's a very sensible take on the game.
We talk about the Ahmad cross-cut pass, whatever, to where a Højlund would have been or should have been. Yeah. Obviously, he's injured at this moment in time. But you need that focal point of the team, don't you? A Haaland at Manchester City doesn't tend to create too much himself. But he's just got this gift of being in the right place at the right time. Then front post runs, back post, and that's where I think Højlund has got that. And I go back to a comment I said before about the wingers at Manchester United constantly overlooking the striker, maybe being a bit selfish, just not choosing the right moment or the right decision in the right moment. And it was probably evident again today to an extent, but I think it's clear that United do have a different kind of game plan going into this season. But again, I mean, Ten Hag said this week that it's about having the right players. It's all right saying this is how I want to play, but you need the right players in the right positions, don't you?
Yeah. I think we probably be safe signing another midfielder. I know Casemiro looked good today, but we don't want to get a month into the season and Casemiro looks like he's got cement in his boots and he can't move. And then we'll go in, we've sold ourselves short here because Casemiro had a good game in the Community Shield and now we've not got a midfielder and now we've got to do the entire season the same way we did it last season. So I'd realistically like to see us sign another midfielder. Ugarte is probably still on the cards. Like we said, could we maybe leverage Sancho? Can Sancho be used to leverage that deal with PSG? But even if that deal doesn't get done and they want to go with a cheaper option, that Sander Berg's a good player, mate, and I wouldn't mind us signing him. He reminds me a bit of Nemanja Matic.
There's a hell of a lot of football snobbery about this, talking down Sander Berg at this moment in time.
I think he's quality.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know people are reading into the $100,000 a week, the £30 million fee or whatever it might be reported, but what I would say is, there's been bigger name players come to Manchester United that haven't flourished. Yeah. And there's been players at Manchester United, a Darren Fletcher, a Ji-Sung Park, players that are not big name players, but once you identify and you've got a system in place, a player like that can be a really, really good asset. And you talk about on the turn, Sander Berg, sat back, loves to receive the ball on the edge of his own box or wherever he is, on the turn, passes, you
Big unit in front of the defence.
Keeps it simple.
Really does remind me of Nemanja Matic. I've liked him for a good while, to be honest. When I seen we were linked to him the other day,
I think a lot of people look and think,
I'm happy with that.
Burnley, or, you know.
That's the thing. He's not an exotic name. That's the thing. But if we're going to get priced out of Ugarte, if we're going to get...
He's an alternative, isn't it?
It's like, if we're going to have to pay 70, 80 million quid for players again, how long is it till we break that cycle of just giving clubs what they want? Do you know what I mean?
I think with Sander Berg, you'd have a player that you could still mould. You give your kind of views and opinions of how you want this player to play. You can mould them. And as you rightly say, in the sense of spending big money, you know, Angel Di Maria didn't work out United. Paul Pogba, some people might say he was a success. Personally, I don't think he was. Some people can argue whatever they want, but when you bring in big name players in at that stage of their career, whatever they are, 28, years old, it's very hard to change them. You buy a top star player, they're already established. This isn't a Kobe Mainoo or an 18-year-old kid that you can go, this is how we want you to develop. This is your role in this team. If you get a superstar like that, you have to put up with it, don't you? Like even a Ronaldo to an extent when he come back to United, you can't tell him.
It's like the team.
Right, I want you to be pressing from the front.
Change,
You have to change, your team to suit that individual.
Whereas you get a young player, they'll change to fit the team, which is that's ideal. That's what you want. It's just people won't be happy about it because it's not an exotic name. But the big thing that comes along with it is the thing of us not getting our pants pulled down in the transfer market because it's gone on far too long.
We've done that though, haven't we? This season, I think we've been stubborn. Even the De Ligt thing, I'm sure you United fans would have wanted to see it a hell of a lot earlier. Integrate him into the team, even get him on the tour. But the first one, obviously, through the door was Xerxes. Then you had Yoro. Obviously, an injury setback, which is horrific from our point of view. But he will be back. But defensive reinforcements are something that obviously Erik ten Hag clearly wanted. He's been provided with this. I did have a question, actually, which ties in nicely before we wrap up. But, on a scale of 1 to 10, and get involved in the chat on this as well, where would you rate, so far now, if we go into Fulham on Friday evening, with we'll class
our 4 signings.
Yes, with the 4 signings, obviously De Ligt looks like it's going to be done. How would you rate that out of 10? And I do have another question to follow this up, but get involved in the chat as well.
Yeah, it depends on Casemiro. Is Casemiro, can we get a season out of Casemiro? And another thing from what I've seen today, which might be what they're thinking about, is how much first-team football is Collier going to get? Because they might...
I think he's got big hopes for him.
They might actually think, rather than signing a midfielder, there might be more value in getting Collier into the team and integrating him. Because let's be honest, we're not challenging for the league anyway this year. I know people want us to, but let's be realistic about it. If we get top 4, we've done very, very well. You've got Arsenal who are going to be going through 100 points. City going to be going through 100 points. Aston Villa look like they're going to finish top 4 again. You've got Liverpool with a completely new project on their hands. You've got Chelsea with 1,001 players who still haven't hit the ground running, who, if they do, could look like a top side. There's so many teams that are going for top 4. So if we get top 4, you'd have to say a good season. If we can come out of the season with a cup, maybe the Europa League, and finish top 4, I'd say, progress. I'd say I'm happy with that.
So in terms of the transfer window, like I say, if we kick off against Fulham with them 4 signings in, out of 10, what would you rate it? Because I tell you something, there is a mixed bag in here. We've got Blaze Finnet FC saying an 8.
I'd say a 7.
Top players saying 6.5, and then you've got Markey saying 5.
I'd say a 7 because
from an 8 to a 5. It's a big kind of difference. We've got Premiers saying 7 or a 7.5, possibly. There's loads of you. Steve, one of the moderators, is saying a 6. Fair play to you, mate. But I'm up near there.
I'd say a 7. Yeah, I'd say it's slightly above average. We
still need more.
Yeah, I did want a midfielder. I did really want a midfielder. maybe I'm daft to say, because Casemiro's impressed me today. Maybe I'm trying to not be reactionary and say, no, maybe Casemiro can do that job because he was shockingly bad last season. Let's not sugarcoat it. But then also, I don't mind what I've seen from Collier today. So
definitely one for the future.
So
but
it's kind
Shawboy is in the chat. Listen, the United Stand Ultras, I always say I do delve into that chat, and I see you. Shawboy is saying, good to hear some sensible, honest opinions. What a great show, guys. That's
cheers,
nice
pal.
to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, cheers, pal.
It makes it all the worthwhile. And we were told that we only had to do a certain amount of minutes this evening just because it was the two of us. Yep. We've absolutely smashed it out the park. Oh, yeah. We are. I mean, we could go on and on. We'll check the old chat out very quickly. But so you go, Kevin Mowry. Welcome to the United Stand Members Club. I might have read that out before. I'm not really sure, but honestly, there's been that much going on today. It is. It's great to be back in it.
Oh yeah, football's
in terms of, don't get me wrong, Manchester United as well, but even the United Stand, match days, build-up show, watch-alongs, you're absolutely covered here. Until it's been a good,
pleasure as always,
been a good day. Put it there.
Pleasure as always.
No, it's been good. I've enjoyed your input. Myself. I think the chat. Looking through that very briefly, then I might be wrong. I might get home and look through, and they'll be like, "Who are these two knobheads talking absolute shite?" But hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've enjoyed all the content. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes and stuff. And honestly, it's for you. That's why we do this. But the Community Shield, it wasn't what we wanted it to be. But we've only lost on penalties. Like I say, Manchester City are going home with that massive shield that your nan brings a few cups of tea out on a Sunday afternoon. And you go, oh, Granny, where do you get that from? Got it from Wembley or whatever. But don't be too disheartened. The signings are coming. There could be more this week as well, for all we know. So we've got you covered here on the United Stand. Like I always say, don't go anywhere else. Stay with the best. Stay with the Georgie best. Forget the rest. Stay with the Georgie best of the Man United fan channels. But you have been watching the biggest fan channel in the land. This was the United Stand. Cheerio and good night.